Hey, how's it going, hooligans? I hope you're doing well. I'm actually recording this from my office in downtown San Diego, so you may hear some street noise, and I work right by the San Diego airport, which is in downtown. So if an airplane flies over us, maybe I'll take the phone to the window so you can see the airplane, or maybe I'll record it later and just edit it in for you. Okay, in this video, you're going to get better immediately at absolute values. I promise you, full money back guarantee. All right. So here we go. Let's try a few of these because I had several students that have problems with absolute values. So all right. So look, the theory behind the absolute value is this. So let's say the absolute value of -7, it is +7. It's just any time, whether it's positive or negative inside the absolute value, then the absolute value is a positive number. We're basically trying to figure out how far we are from 0, right? So -7, obviously 7 away from 0, so the absolute value of -7 is 7. The absolute value of +7 is 7. The absolute value of, we could do this forever, right? If -13 is 13. The absolute value of, you know what? The negative times the absolute value of -12, right? You would think, right, negative times negative is a positive, but no, the negative times the absolute value of -12 equals, we carry the negative over, so negative, and then the absolute value of -12 is +12. So then we would multiply the negative times 12, so it would be -12. All right, so one more time, let's do that, like a negative, let's say we have -5 times the absolute value of -5, right? Without that absolute value, right, negative times negative would be +25, but here the -5 is -5, and the absolute value of -5 is +5. So then we have -5 times +5, which would then be -25. Let's do what we have in that sheet. Let's do this really quick. If you want, pause it and then try it on your own. All right, I hope you tried it on your own. So this first guy, we have the absolute value of x is greater than 30. Now be careful, the answer is not simply greater than 30, all right? Because what we have here is we could have, we want x to be greater than 30, and then we also want, it's like the negative value of x being greater than 30. So the way we do this goes like this. We're gonna have two answers. The first one would be we want whatever is positive in there, and then we want whatever is the negative of what's in there to be greater than 30. So we actually have to do two equations here. So this first guy is, we already have it, it's x is greater than 30. Now this one here, we want to get that negative over. Any time with equalities, or inequalities, I should say, sorry, inequalities, when we multiply or divide by a negative, we have to then flip the inequality. So we're going to multiply each side by -1. So then this is x, and then we have to flip this guy is less than -30. So that's the other answer. So those are the two answers. Here we have x plus 4, the absolute value of that, is less than 20. So we have to do two things. We have to do x plus 4, the positive of that is less than 20, and then we want the negative of x plus 4 to be less than 20. So we have to solve both of those. So this first guy, we would just subtract 4 from each side. So we have x is less than 16. This one here, we can distribute that negative. We'd have -x minus 4 is less than 20. Then you could add 4 to each side. So we have -x is less than 24. And now I want to multiply -1 to each side. And then when I do that, we flip that inequality. So -1 times -x is +x. We flip this guy is greater than -24. So x is greater than -24. So those are the two answers. If you look at it on the timeline, it would look something like this. There's 0. So x is between -24 and 16. And it's, greater than -24, less than 16. The absolute value of -3x minus 5 is greater than 20. Hit pause if you want and try this guy. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do two equations. We're going to have -3x minus 5 is greater than 21. Then we're going to have the negative of -3x minus 5 is greater than 21. All right, so we have to do two of these. So let's start with this guy here, plus 5. So we get -3x is greater than 26. Now I'm going to divide each side by -3. We flip that inequality. We have x is less than -26 thirds. All right, that's the answer. You know, sometimes obviously 7, 8, it might be negative 8 and 2/3. X is less than negative 8 and 2/3. Over here, we have the negative of negative 3x minus 5 is greater than 21. What some people do is they get rid of that negative off the bat, you know, by like they'll off the bat they'll multiply each side by -1 just to get rid of this. And then we flip the sign, we have negative 21. So then we have negative 3x minus 5 is less than negative 21. Then we add 5 to each side. So we get negative 3x is less than negative 16. Watch that arithmetic there. Sometimes when you're adding and subtracting from negatives, it gets a little dicey. Okay, then we're going to divide by -3. Now remember, every time in an inequality, when we divide or multiply by a negative, we have to then flip the sign. This was kind of funny because we did that twice here. So we get x is greater than 16/3. So those are the two answers. All right, now it's going to get a little tougher. Let's do this guy here. We have the absolute value of negative x times x is greater than 0. And what we want to know is x is less than 0 or is x greater than 0? So basically, is x a positive number or a negative number, right? Now, we got to be cautious here because of that absolute value. If you look at this here, the absolute value of negative x, okay? The absolute value of negative x, if x is, let's say x is positive 4, so then we want to know what's the absolute value of negative 4. That's going to be positive 4. If x is negative 4, right, we want to know what is the absolute value of negative times negative 4, which is the absolute value of 4, which is still 4. All right, so the bottom line is the absolute value of negative x, regardless of what negative x is, the absolute value of that is going to be a positive number, right? So the absolute value of negative x is going to be a positive number, all right? And then we multiply it by x, and that's going to give us something that's a positive number. So if we want a positive number here, this number has to be greater than x. This has to also be a positive number. It can't be, x cannot be a -4 there because then we would have a positive number times a negative number, which would be a negative number. So we want here x to be a positive number, right? So then, so that's the answer. X is greater than 0. Here, let's keep going here. Try this one on your own. Put the answers in the comments. Let's say we have 5x plus 30 is greater than 100. So do that one on your own. Ah, we missed the airplane. Oh, there it is. Can you see it? All right, we'll see. Hopefully you can see it. All right, so we have here 5x plus 30 is greater than 100. Try that one on your own. Put the answer in the comments. If you want to get better at math, keep doing these videos. Do this video right here. This guy. Do that right now and just keep at it. All right, folks?